Heyo! Time for a little bit of a special announcement here, folks. I decided that right now, I'm gonna be starting doing some new polls for you. But not just any human poll. This time we're gonna go on the witch side. Now granted, some people were telling me like long time ago to wait for more characters to arrive and such, and well, now it is episode 5, and there's probably gonna be like more characters arriving like in the next episodes, like more magical characters and such, but this time I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna do it right now. I want it right now. I wanna do it. So here are the first 2 polls that I have made, especially for you guys, that you're gonna be doing for right now, that you're gonna be voting in. One poll will focus on the witches. Who are your favorite witches? Let me know. And also the second poll, which will be for the magical characters that are not witches. Granted, the game does consider some of them witches, which is something that I'm still thinking about. But they are not as witchy as the witches from the first poll. This second poll is for those that are not as witchy, but they are magical. Demons, Chister bunnies, the Eisenjungfrau, Saktaro, all that fun stuff. So make sure that you vote in both the polls. Vote for your favorite characters in their specific polls, with multiple choices, of course. And let me know in the comments down below which you have picked in both those polls. Who are your favorites?
クラウスが犯人だと認めたなら、エリカは夏日に対する追及を中断。以後は所在不明のクラウスが犯人ということで追及を。
どうするベアト？このままじゃ夏日やばいわよ。司法取引を受ける？後ろ宮家の名誉とやらを放棄するなら、今回はドローにしてあげようっていうベルンの甘い配慮よ。
Klaus is currently missing, and it was unknown whether he was alive or dead. Like Kinzo, he was no different than a cat in a box that had disappeared into the midst of the island. And the cat in the box is a creature of infinite variation. No interpretation of it can be denied. It is the root of endless interpretations, the true source of the endless witch's power. In other words, no matter how much Ben Castell were to claim that Klaus was the culprit, she wouldn't be able to make that the sole truth. That is, the Klaus culprit theory and the witch theory could exist in almost perfect balance. That could make the game a draw. Ben Castell was tempting her. She was offering her a second chance if she would abandon the honor of the family she had sworn to protect, and consent to weaving a fragment that would trample all over that honor. There was no room for false confidence. For battle, to lose was to die. Unless she could see herself having an overwhelming advantage in this game, the right move had to be actively pursue a draw.
夫は犯人呼ばわりなどさせません。夫は後ろ宮家次期当主、後ろ宮家の栄光を受け継ぐ唯一の人間です。その人間に犯罪者の汚名を着せるなど断じて許しません。良いのか夏日、クラウスを疑ることを放棄するなら、もうそなたしか、そなた以外の全員のアリバイの証明、すなわちテンペルのカラス。
The process of elimination.
何の証拠もなく、そなたを犯人だと断定できてしまう。私しか残らなければ何だというのですか。私は後ろ宮夏日、逃げも隠れもしない。私は潔白です。そして心に片翼のわしを刻む高潔なる当主代行です。私を罵りたければ罵りなさい。あざけりたければあざけりなさい。誰にも虚実で私の名誉を傷つけることなどできはしないのです。
with a dignified voice. Natsu stated her case openly before the witches above her. However, this response of hers might have been exactly what Baron Costello had intended.
夏日は取引を拒否。ベアとは分かってるわね。夏日が特定された瞬間にラムダは判決を下すわよ。その瞬間に魔女幻想は否定され、あなたは露と消える。夏日のくだらない意地に地獄の底まで付き合うつもり？
リーチェ、あんたはよく戦ったわ。ここが潮時よ。夏日を説得してなんとかギリギリの妥協策を。
ラムダデルタ教もベルンカステル教も真の敵はお嬢様ではなく退屈そのものです。このゲームをまだ繰り返し遊びたいはず。お嬢様が譲歩するところを見せれば喜んでそれを受け入れ、次のゲームに仕切り直すはずです。
次のゲームに仕切り直され、このゲームの夏日を、このかけらの夏日をどう。そんなの気にしてる場合じゃないでしょ。夏日なんて所詮駒よ。このゲームで取り除かれても次のゲームではまた登場するわ。
しかしお嬢様はそういうわけには参りませんぞ。今回のゲームでベルンカステル教の手の内は分かったはずです。それを生かし次回のゲームで勝利を目指す方が現実的です。ここはベルンカステル教の取引に乗るのが唯一無二の上策かと。
くだらないプライドは捨てなさい。カスパロフもディープブルーも無敗じゃないわ。
Kasparov, Deep Blue.
最後に勝率で勝者を決めるんでしょ。一つの勝負、一つの人生、一つの駒に魔女が執着したら死ぬわよ。すまぬが、そういうわけにはいかなくてな。誰もが違うと言っても自分だけは信じる男の強さと、それを捨てなければならなかった男の悔しさをわらわは知っている。わらわは夏日を見捨てぬ。なぜか誰もが夏日を疑うのなら誰かが夏日を信じねばならぬからだ。真実とは疑う者と信じる者の狭間にこそ見つけ出せるからだ。わらわは見捨てぬぞ。誰もが夏日を犯人と信じるなら、それでもわらわは魔女が犯人であると主張する。
Yeah, there you go. That's also what I wanted to hear as well.
それが主張できるならわらわの存在価値などそれまでよ。負けられねえんだよ。真実ってのはさ、自分が疑って捨てた時に消え去るんだよ。
それがベアとの返事？
ああ、当然拒否よ。後宮クラウスは犯人にあらず。
バカだ。もう取り返しはつかないわよ。愚か者の短気にふさわしい報いを受けなさい。奇跡の魔女ベルンカステルの名において赤き真実を語るわ。後宮クラウスは犯人ではない。そしてとっくに殺されてるわ。あんたに電話で声を聞かせた直後にね。
and that Castell's cruel and ruthless red blade gouged Natsu. It was all too merciless. The lack of knowledge of whether Kraus was alive or dead had almost crushed Natsu with anxiety, but she had at least been capable of believing that he was alive. And now, that hope, that expectation, had been crushed, without any chance for a miracle. She had thrown herself into this trap out of concern for her husband's safety. And with the loss of her daughter and husband, she had now lost everything she had gained since marrying into the Ushirimiya family. No, even after all this, one thing still remained. If her husband was lost, then right now, she was the last person who could protect the honor of the Ushirimiya family. She still couldn't let it end here. Even wrapped up in so much sadness, Natsu would do all she could to protect that honor, with her last ounce of strength.
いいえ、これで終わりよ。残りの食堂の人間は全員1時まで食堂を出ていないことは赤き真実で確定してる。つまりもう夏日以外全員のアリバイは証明されてる。見事だったわ、エリカ・ベルンカステル。あなたたちは後宮夏日以外に犯行が不可能であることを証明しきったわ。主文から読み上げようかしら。被告後宮夏日は1986年10月4日24時に先に就寝すると偽り自室へ戻るふりをして午前1時までの1時間の間にジョージ、ジェシカ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジの5人を次々殺害したわ。
主文追加。状況証拠からクラウスの殺害も追加を。
そうね。クラウスを殺せるのだってこの状況じゃ夏日以外に考えられないわ。主文を訂正するわ。午前1時までの1時間の間にクラウス、ジョージ、ジェシカ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジの6人を次々殺害したわ。殺害可能時間はいずれも24時からの1時間の間だけ。その1時間の間にアリバイを持たない犯行の可能な人物は後宮夏日だけだった。以後ゲームは被告を真犯人として扱い進行。また事件が人間の犯行で完全に証明されたため無限の魔女ベアトリーチェ当幻想法廷はあんたの存在をここに否定することを宣言するわ。抗弁の機会があるけど夏日のアリバイを証明できる？もしくは夏日以外が犯人の可能性を示せる？それさえできれば夏日は黒ギリギリのグレー止まり。あんたの存在否定は今回は保留されるけど。
If Natsuki had an alibi, Battle would have shown it long ago. In fact, wasn't the whole point of that trap to make her lose her alibi?
アリバイの証明などなくともわらわは夏日の無実を信じるぞ。そなたらが偽りの真実をどう決めつけようとな、わらわこそが真犯人である。夏日は無実である。たとえ証拠がなくとも。真相は六軒島の夜の主黄金のベアトリーチェだけが知っています。私は後宮夏日、夫なき今、私が後宮家の当主です。我が心いかなる恥ずかしめにもくじけることがありません。それはなぜかお父様が私に心に片翼のわしの紋章を刻むことをお許しくださったからです。私の心臓に刻まれた紋章と名誉をあなたの証拠とアリバイとやらは どう否定できますか？できません。私の心に刻まれた後ろ宮家の紋章は不滅なのです。
Now that Natsuki and Beatrice had practically been placed on a guillotine, they cried out with all the strength of their determination. However, that did nothing except bring a cold smile to the Game Master Lambda Delta's face. Erika had constructed a truth that Lambda Delta could accept. And no one could construct a more convincing truth to deny Erika's. Except there is still one more person that still believes in Nazi. Beller, you better make your move fast, otherwise things are not gonna go so well from now on. You better do something. In that case, the most convincing truth would swallow up everything else and become the one and only truth. Even if it happened to be different from the real truth. The truth of those in the past is swallowed up by the truth of those in the future. Even if that truth is fiction. As long as everyone acknowledges to be true.
よく吠えること。私は魔女が火あぶりになるときは命乞いを泣きわめく子が一番好きよ。あんたみたいな虚勢を張るのは一番興ざめなの。
You know, it does remind me of a completely different adventure from before. There was one case where things were solved in a different way, but by the end of it all, like much later in the story, we discovered a different truth. If things did not turn out the way they were, then we would have accepted the original truth that we discovered in that case, but no. We discovered a different truth later, and that is the truth that we accepted in the end. The future truth. Otherwise, even up to this point, I still would have believed in that original truth. It is quite interesting.
だからその虚勢を打ち砕く赤き真実を私からの最後の贈り物としてあげる。
何ですか？言わせ。ベルンカステル卿。もはやそなたの望んだ真実で上書きされるであろうが、その真実と夏日の真実は相入れるはず。汚さないでやってくれ。頼む。
夏日、金蔵があんたの心に片翼のわしを刻むことをいつ許したっての？あんたの妄想の中の金蔵の言葉でしょうが、それは本当の金蔵はね、生涯ただの一度もあんたを心の底から信頼したこともないし、あんたに紋章を許そうと思ったこともただの一度もないわ。
When that heartless announcement was made, Kenzo stood up.
夏希、耳を貸すでない。そなたの心に刻まれた紋章は誰にも汚されぬ。
Throughout his entire life, not once did he ever trust you from the bottom of his heart. And not once did he ever consider letting you bear the family crest.
そなただけのものだ。後ろ宮家の最後の当主としての誇りを永劫に忘れるな。夏日。
やかましいわ。消えなさいよ、夏日のゲロカス妄想。
消せぬぞ我が魂は。夏日が心に紋章を刻み続ける限りな。
この嘘つき幻想が。本当の金蔵はそんなことを言わないわ。消えなさい。夏日によって美化された、夏日にとって都合のいい夏日の中の妄想の金蔵。
Bright red flashes of lightning smashed Kinzo over and over, again as he screamed. Then, he crumpled like a doll, and sat back down in his chair as though nothing had happened. The fierce emotion had left Kinzo's face. He had truly become like a waxed model. And so, he would never again share kind of words with Natsu. Yes, the true Kinzo never once trusted Natsu during his entire life. And the true Kinzo never once thought about allowing Natsu to bear the one-winged eagle. Although he doesn't deserve repeating, Kinzo had already passed away before the game began. The Kinzo appearing in this game was nothing more than Natsu's delusion. Everything about this Kinzo, who believed in Natsu and entrusted her with protecting the family honor, was an illusion created by Natsu.
哀れな女。後ろ宮金蔵の信頼を生涯得られなかった真実を今こそ正視しなさい。
夏日、泣くな。そなたは金蔵に後ろ宮家を託されたのであろう。
No, he didn't. Not only did he not entrust her with that, he never said hello, or met her gaze even once. Natsu's cry, a mixture of sadness and many other emotions, echoed throughout the cathedral. Natsu could no longer stop her tears. Some last, faint element that had cheered her up until today, that had allowed her to endure as an Ushinomiya, as the wife to the heads represented, and as the final family head, had been torn to bits. Natsu no longer had anything left. Natsu could no longer allow herself to even call herself an Ushinomiya. The difficult days, the painful days, the days where she still gave everything she could for the family she'd married into, despite it all. And the rare happy days that existed among them. All these flitted through her mind, one after another, and disappeared. All those once beautiful memories, now crushed by Ben Castell's red truth, smashed into tiny shards that scattered everywhere, buried themselves deep into her hands, and soaked them red with the blood of sorrow. It was that add of sadness and truth.
以上です。ただ事件がそこに存在するだけで、古田エリカはこの程度の推理が可能です。いかがでしょうか、皆様方。
Lambda Delta clapped. Then, a little later than expected, Ben Castell began to clap as well, looking satisfied. The expressionless, wax-figure-like audience followed suit, and the unshakable Verdi was welcomed with great applause. And so, the truth of this tale is decided. Right now, no humans exist on this island except for those in the parlor. And with one exception, it has been shown that none of them have committed murder. And the culprit is among these people.
おいおい。となると、決定的じゃねえか。
魔女が犯人で魔法で殺人を犯したわけでない限りね。あんたなの？あんたがジョージを、主人を殺したの？どうしてよ？どうして？私は殺していません。私は何も。
In a panic, and with a voice that really couldn't be called flowing. In a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Nazi denied the suspicion placed upon her. However, there was no longer any way around it. And the girl stood up, brushed back her long hair, pointed at Nazi, and said it one more time.
あなたが犯人です。後宮夏日さん。
Red-faced and tear-streaked, Eva walked up to Nazi and grabbed her by the collar. Then, wordlessly, she slapped Nazi's cheek. Nazi, who had never been slapped in her life, was shocked by her first ever taste of iron. It turned into a scuffle between Eva and Nazi. Beller immediately tried to stop them, but Eva planted a sharp knee into Beller's guts. But Eva planted a sharp knee into Beller's guts, and he doubled over. Sobbing, Eva kicked Nazi, who had fallen to the ground over and over. Nella tried once more to cut in and stop him, but he was brushed aside. And after that, no one tried to stop them. Repeating her son and husband's names over and over, Eva kicked Nazi, and kicked her. And then, she started grabbing whatever her eyes fell upon, and throwing it. Nazi was hit with a steaming teacup. And then a can of black tea, whose tea leaves fell out over. She was kicked, her hair pulled and dragged up. Her cheeks slapped so many times that it started to swell. No one tried to stop it. It wasn't because they were worried about Eva kicking them too. It was because they thought it would. It was because they thought it an inappropriate act of retribution for a person who had lost her beloved son and husband. A proper retribution. Beller, you better start joining in as well, Chiru. You better start doing something. Anytime now. A proper truth. Everyone in the parlor accepted that Nazi was the culprit. And they accepted the truth that they got claimed. So it became a proper truth, and Nazi was designated as the proper culprit. She had already lost a husband and daughter who would have protected her. And even Kenzo, who should have given her a final bit of strength, It already vanished like a bubble in the ocean of illusions. No longer would anyone protect her. No longer would anyone believe her. So she was now the culprit. Eva's shoulders heaved with her heavy breathing. Apparently, her anger still hadn't abated. Erika patted Eva's shoulder and made her take a step back. Of course, this wasn't to protect Natsu from violence. It was to further humiliate her, now she had been branded as the culprit.
夏日さん、私は3つの謎の2つを解きました。フーダニット、ハウダニット、そして最後の謎、ホワイダニットは犯人が自ら告白しなくてはならないと決まっています。どうかミステリーのルールに従い告白を。
The why done it refers to the motive.
これが三流ミステリーなら、そろそろ夏日さんが高笑いを始めて罪を認め、悲しい過去話を始めるタイミングなのですが、まさかそれまで私がしなくてはなりませんか？
私は犯人じゃありません。誰か信じて。私は何者かに夫を人質に取られ脅迫されて罠にはめられただけなんです。
Natsu, with her hair a mess and her face red and tear-streaked, protested to everyone, but no one met her case, because it had already been resolved that Natsu was the culprit, because Lambda Delta had acknowledged that the culprit with the tail was Natsu and woven it that way. None of the pieces would pay any heed to Natsu's, to the culprit's words.
夏日は犯人ではない。我こそは黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。そなたらが夜の闇に怯えた年頃よりはるかに前から君臨する六軒島の夜の支配者。なぜわらわの罪とせぬか。なぜ夏日を疑うのか。わらわを認めよ。すべてはわらわの犯行ぞ。人間が犯人ということなど断じてあってはならぬわ。
The witch illusion had already been crushed, and Bato's voice didn't reach any. The verdict had already been announced. Everything had been decided.
聞こえてないわよ、誰にもね。あんたは幻、ただの幻想。お帰りなさい、ただの肖像画に。金像の幻想を親族が共有することによって生まれた儚い幻の魔女。それがこの世界の選んだ真実なのよ。さあ、大ラムダデルタ教、この魔女を語るおこがましき愚かな幻想を今こそ葬り去りたまえ。
さようならベアトリーチェ。あなたを魔女にしたのは私のお友達になれるか、私の退屈を紛らわしてくれるか、そのどちらかを期待したものよ。そしてあなたは期待に応えてくれたわ。後者のね。
わらわは魔女であるわ。ラムダデルタ教に認められずとも魔女であるわ。
私が後見人にならなかったらそれを信じることもできなかったくせに。さあ、あなたはこれでゲームオーバーよ。あなたを葬る方法はあなたのゲーム版のルールに従ってあげる。あなたのゲームでは敗者はどうなるんだっけ。
すでにベアトが過去のゲームで一度はっきりとそれを見せてくれてるわ。生きた肉の塊にしてヤギの晩餐会に放り込んで食い散らかされるのよ。
quite delicious.
ふさわしい最後だわ、ベアトリーチェ。高慢ちきなあんたの断末魔が聞きたくて、はるばるこんなところまでやってきたのだから。
One by one, a massive number of speaking goat attendants slipped out from behind pillars and began to fill the cathedral. The goats paid no attention to Nazi, who was seated in the center, but a crowd completely enveloped her. From Bato's point of view up on the balcony, he must have looked like a huge boiling pot of goats.
そうであるな。もとよりそういう契約であったな。
そうよ。あなたが私を楽しませることができなくなったら、その身をもって私の退屈を慰めるのが私たちの契約。さあ、その女から魔女の座を奪い、ヤギの釜へ放り込みなさい。
Soon, there were goats standing right behind Bato. They lifted her up roughly.
良い悲鳴を聞かせてね。
Anytime now, Beller!
あんたはこの日のために寝かせてきたワインよ。
ならばそれを聞かせぬのがわらわの最後の一子であるわ。
やった、言わせた。それを捨て台詞にしてくれる子が聞かせてくれる悲鳴が最上級なのよ。もちろんベアトリーチェ。
The goats carrying Bato no longer viewed her as their master. After holding her above the pod of clambering goats, which were snorting heavily in anticipation, they threw Bato's slender body into the air. All at once, the squirming goats faced the heavens and raised their arms. It was almost as though devouring her flesh would allow them to forget their pain for just a short while. She flew through the air. Bato tried to smile boldly, but it was so forced that it seemed even more pathetic, greatly pleasing than Castel. When Bato fell into the pot, the gods caught her. Of course, they didn't do it gently. The arms of countless goats pulled at her flesh to keep it for themselves. They tried to tear her to bits. It didn't have to be flesh. Hair, fingernails, shoes, even bits of her dress were just fine. The mouths of those goats were the gateway to hell. However, Beta was too big to pass through that gateway, so they had to chew and tear her into bits small enough to fit into it. Beta let out a bold laugh. She left from inside a pod of goats. However, her expression was very different from the one she had intended. It was an expression not of a witch, but of a single human screaming out for the final time. And then, the sea of goats parted. Delanor leapt forward, slicing all the goats in her path with a single flash of her longsword. Delanor? Heyo! Jumping in at the last second to intervene, just like Battler does. It was a thin slice, like cutting through butter. The goats were surprised by Delanor's sudden appearance, and stepped back. In the center, Beatrice cowered in tatters, sobbing.
何の真似？異端審問官ドラノール。恐れながら申し上げます。この判決に意義のある者がおります。そやつの名は後宮バトラです。
Indeed. Beller, it is time you take center stage. I'm sure you have plenty of things you want to say in this. All the goats stared at Bella.
当法廷の判決に何が不服で？再審請求にふさわしい新しい証拠を、真実をお持ちなのでしょうね。
I get it. Delanor is offering me a helping hand. If she hadn't jumped in here, it would all be over. And I fully understand now how I'm supposed to fight. And that very understanding that makes me unable to fight. Because I know I cannot win by simply countering Erika's truth. If I want to deny her truth, I'll need to present a different one. Present a different truth. Okay. In which case, we're gonna need a different strategy. I don't know if... well, there are definitely some things that we can deny about Erika's truth, but... this is gonna be something. We're gonna have to think about this. And I still don't have a clue what that truth is. Yeah, I think that our core mission over here is figuring out what that truth is. I mean, there is one truth that Virgilia told us. Maybe we can use that in some way.
時に癒せぬものはありません。時を費やせど至れぬ真実もまたありません。しかし全ての法廷は真実を決定するのに刻限を設けます。そしてその刻限までに至れぬ真実はもはや真実とはなり得ないのです。
Yeah, I know that. Oh, I know that too damn well by now. By now, everyone is certain that all Nazi is the culprit. It might be too late now, even for the real truth. Aunt Eva's violence will probably go unstopped. And no one is even thinking about protecting all Nazi. It's no longer a situation where we can say, oh, the truth will eventually be found. And in this world, even the time allotted to us to expose the truth is very short. It's already midnight and the end of the game. The police won't come. The truth won't be revealed. Only the truth decided upon here and now will remain. Truth, schmoof. You know, when this is all over, the world will know one truth. We will know our own. A truth that isn't as hollow as Bercastel is presenting us. Any truth that has love in it, no matter how shaky it is, would convince me more than what I have been seeing thus far. I will only be convinced when the heart and the mind are convinced. When there won't be just one absolute truth, but multiple truths clashing together. Let's get to it, Beller. I slowly stood up, walked in front of battle, and faced Eleanor. I have no plan. I don't know the truth. However, if I don't jump in now, I won't get another chance to fight. True. Go ahead and fight, even if right now you don't have that plan yet. And eventually something will come. It's better to fight with no plan until you figure out that plan, rather than sit back and not think of anything at all. With the fear of losing. The red used by Erika's group is mercilessly strict. I seriously doubt that I can put together a truth where Nazi isn't the culprit, without violating their red.
何を頼りない顔をしているのです。情けない男です。
バトル。
お前を殺すのは俺だ。その約束を俺は守りたい。なのに 今の俺には何の策もない。
良いのだ。この世に真実などない。それは後から作られ上書きされるのだ。本当の真実なんてどこにもないのだ。
ドラノール、素敵なシナリオだわ。やはりお姫様の処刑にはナイトが現れないと面白くない。そしてその眼前で弾頭を見せてやるのに勝るものなし。
Yeah, screw you. Opponents always underestimate the hero. Until the last moment when the hero gets the final blow on them. Out of everyone, I have a beef with you the most, Menekas still.
古き駒と用済みのプレイヤーたちをまとめて葬り去りなさい。
良いです。大ベルンカステル教に栄光あれ。我こそは首席異端審問官ドラノール・エノックス。いざ参られい、後ろ宮バトラ。
こうなりゃ破れかぶれだ。俺のわらがけ見せてやる。
The only reason Erika's fury is so strong is because of those seals. She was given a red so quickly just because Lambda Delta easily bought the alibis created by those seals. But the seals aren't red truth. Just sticking paper in a door crack is far from perfect. Okay, well, it is as it said before. In the end, words will not mean much unless they are red and blue truths in this. Like, I am pretty curious what we can do with the seals that Erika's spoken about. Let's see. There's no way something like that can prove anything with certainty.
始めなさいバトラ。
愛しのベアトリーチェと一緒にヤギたちに肉片にされて混ぜこぜになってみる。ああ、そのひき肉にはあんたの大切な妹のひき肉も混ぜてあげるわ。素敵な合いびき肉になるでしょうよ。皮に包んで蒸して小籠包にして、やっぱり醤油でしょ。
フライパンで焼いて卵を乗せてケチャップが最強よ。
Man, I swear, the music in this, yeah, it's pumping me every single time, like each new song. Oh, sorry, you girls were talking about something? I wasn't paying attention.
エリカお得意の封印の信頼性は疑えないのか。髪を挟むなんていい加減な方法で絶対のアリバイにはなり得ないはず。偶然気づいた人間が元の位置に挟み直すことだってあったかもしれない。
Indeed. It can either be that, or it can be the idea that I presented before, about ripping the seals and using the halves as part of the same seal, after breaking them like multiple times, with the doors and the windows and such. The blade of my blue truth should have slashed diagonally through Delnor's chest. However, Delnor's expression didn't budge in the slightest, and there wasn't a single wound on her chest.
何が飛び出すかと思ったらバカバカしい。
私からご説明しましょう。私が扉を封印していたのはこれ。バトラさんはこれ紙だと思ってたんですか？
Erika once again held up the thing that looked like brown paper.
これガムテープです。それも非常に粘着力のある。それにハサミを入れ切れやすくしてあります。それにさらに切れ目、扉と枠部の3箇所に模写不可能な私のサインにて割り印がしてあります。
Oh. Nah, that's right. the signature. Meaning that if it's torn apart, it would surely be noticeable. Still, how can we trust that all of the seals you mentioned were all intact, or if they were not used, despite the signature?
よって痕跡を残さずに剥がすことも貼り直すことも一切できないわけです。
抜刀申請石剣
承認。
以上により封印の完全性は保証されました。ミスエリカの封印は何者にも破れずごまかすことはできないのです。
Nice move.
エリカの封印は認めよう。だがエヴァおばさんがした源氏さんの部屋の封印は違うはずだ。
エヴァの封印もミスエリカの封印と同一のものです。この封印方法はミスエリカとエヴァが晩餐後に共同で考案したものだからです。
エリカは科学操作に用いるとか言ってじいさまの部屋の薬物をいろいろと漁ったな。その薬物の中に例えば溶剤があったかもしれない。それを使えば爪の痕跡を残さずにきれいにガムテープを剥がすことも可能かもしれない。
金慶慎んで申し上げる。全ての封印はいかなる方法でも痕跡を残さずに剥がすことは不可能なのだ。
金慶慎んで申し上げる。全ての封印には不審な一切の痕跡はなきにけり。
以上により封印に何らかの工作が行われたことがないことが証明されます。
復唱要求。
ええ、喜んで。エリカとエヴァの全ての封印には剥がすなどの封印の機能を損なわせる一切の工作はなかった。
Okay, well, I guess that shuts my idea as well, because in order for my idea to happen, the remaining halves do need to be scraped with like fingernails and put one of the halves back. I wonder.
跡が残るようなガムテープをあちこちにベタベタと貼りやがって。
Eleanor isn't my only enemy. There's also her subordinates, Gertrude and Cornelia, and also Erika and her master Ben Castell, and even Lambda Delta, the one who hijacked Bato's game. Everyone in this cathedral is an enemy. As if it makes a difference whatsoever. The right mind and the right heart can pierce through an entire army, in my eyes. That fierce rush of red immediately repelled my feeble truth. It's obvious why. I don't have any alternate truth. Even at this final stage, I have nothing. Alright. It is as it was said before. An alternative to trying to pierce through her reasoning is to find some other truth. Like, some other possibility for everything that happened. But, you know what? This is good. It is good that we questioned the seals, at the very least. Now, this entire thing is starting to become more of a debate of truths, and less of a slaughter.
封印の議論だけで終わりですか？全力で来る約束です。
Okay, well, I cannot say that I have much to go on, but like, there are a couple of thoughts that I had in mind throughout this entire thing. I guess it would be good to review some of the stuff that I've been thinking about. Like, first would be that I'm not 100% convinced of Rosa's actions here. Like, maybe there's something there, but I'm not quite sure. Second, what about Kinzo? Like, so far we concluded last time that he disappeared. Maybe he was already on the second floor when the murder happened. Also, it was stated in red before that it was impossible to reach the second floor. The key word would be reach. From outside or inside, it doesn't matter. It was impossible to reach that floor without Erika noticing. But what if our culprit was already on the second floor in the first place, and hid himself like all along, until the one moment when Erika was not inside the guest house, and they managed to escape all scot-free. And I feel like there was something else that I was thinking of that I'm forgetting over here. Oh yeah, like, who were exactly in the dining hall between 24 and 1? Again, the names of the people in the dining hall were not stated. So that too might be worth checking. And I think that was it. I'm gonna see about thinking of something else. But until then, you better pull yourself together. Don't make me kick you in the ass! Cause that would be bad. Yeah, I mean, you know, your Tushy is so perfect, it would make Beatrice swoon, you know. I mean, it would be really sad for her if your Tushy gets damaged.